ships. And I'll show you some ship ones, some ship blueprints. So you can start doing frigates if you want. Here's one here, is Kestrel. It's same thing, it's a blueprint. You'll want to buy copies at the beginning. Eventually, when you're making drones and all that, and ammo, you'll want to buy an original. And you can buy originals that already have some material level and stuff on them, these things here. So you can do it that way. Good luck finding a lab that will increase the material level for you. I wouldn't bother. The material level public labs are usually full, and or if you want to wait a month. The low-sec ones are usually also full. I wouldn't bother with that. Just buy one that's already got material level on it. You'll pay a little more money, but it'll be worthwhile. Then you won't have to buy the copies anymore. So this is an example of a frigate. It's the same deal as what you've been doing. It requires minerals. You buy the minerals or you make the minerals through mining, and then you make the stuff. Again, you'll want to see if a Kestrel is worth making based on the volumes, based on the cost with ML Calc or a spreadsheet if you want. You can handle that. And the price that it's going at. You want to check out the profit margin. You'll want to maximize your profits. Build what makes the most money, always, forever. That is the signal that that thing is in demand, or that's a worthwhile venture for your capital, a worthwhile investment to get the most money back. So you'll build frigates, and eventually, if a frigate has been doing you good, if you've been getting lots of money out of it, buy an original. And it'll be something like this. It'll be a different color. Notice these are copies, these whiter ones. And then these bluer ones are originals. Here's a Badger. So this is a industrial ship. You can go to industrial ships after frigates if you like. Again, you check to see if it's worth making. Check to see if the volumes are there. And if it is, then go for it. Buy a copy. Make a few. Move them there. Keep in mind that if you're doing ships, it's harder to move ships and modules and ammo and drones. You may want to keep that in mind. If you have the skills to fly the ship, then you're good. But if you don't, you have to haul the ship, and that's more difficult. What do ships... what are frigates? How big are they here? Okay, so here's a Heron. It is 2,500 M3s, so you can use a Badger to haul that. You can probably haul, 4 of them maybe, if you got decent skills. So keep that in mind, that once you start getting into ships, and you will want to, that's where you make money. The ship market is the big time. You want to keep in mind that you have to move the ship to sell it. So either you have the skills to fly it there, and then when you do, I'll give you an example here. So let's say I flew this... let's say this shuttle. By the way, don't make shuttles. There's no money in shuttles. There's nothing. Don't bother with that. Okay, so let's say I move this shuttle. Then I'm going to get out of the shuttle by, I think it's go to pod or something. One of these. Leave ships. You can click leave ship. And then you're going to right click on it. And you're going to go repackage and click yes. And then it's going to turn to an item now. And then now you can right click on this and sell it. As I've explained earlier. So, okay, frigates, industrial ships, check those out if they're worth making. Okay, then you can go to cruisers if you want. Let's see, here's an Osprey. This is a cruiser. Same deal, there's just minerals. If you got the minerals together, you make it. Check to make sure it's worthwhile to make. It's got a good profit margin on it. Buy the copy. And eventually, you'll get an original if it's something that you keep making lots of. Don't buy originals for everything. Only buy originals if you're making tons of them. If it's worthwhile. Because the originals cost you millions of bucks. Let me show you. For when you get into ships. So I'll put this in here. Whoops. Okay, 25 mil there that's just a cruiser. So that's getting into the big time. So I wouldn't bother buying it unless you're making tons of them. But you will be. When you start getting up to frigates and cruisers, you'll have millions of ISK. Another thing you can make, once you've made quite a bit of ammo, modules and stuff, and you're doing okay with making that stuff, you can also make rigs. So here's an example of a rig, and you can buy the blueprints. I think the blueprints aren't that expensive. I think you can also buy copies. The materials are a little bit different. They're not minerals. These are actually, if you're missioning, you'll get this stuff if you salvage. If you salvage wrecks from ships, so you blow up a ship, it'll turn into a wreck, a shipwreck. If you salvage those ships, then you get this stuff. And you want to keep this stuff, and then you can use it to make rigs and then sell the rigs. And that'll give you some money as well. And it's pretty much free money, right? I guess you'll want to make sure that the components don't sell more than the rig. So those individual components, these fried or burn logic circuit and stuff like that, you want to calculate that to make sure that these selling these on their own is not more profitable than building it and selling the item. So you want to check that. Usually, though, the rig is unless it's a rig that's not used very much, the rig usually will get you some money, get you some profit over the components. Okay, so yes, we've done cruisers. So next is battle cruisers. I'll show you. There's a Drake. Drake's a battle cruiser. Same deal, minerals it requires. Now, as you can see, it's getting more and more and more. Buy the copies. This is a copy here, so there's an ML level of 30. That's about the base you'll want for ships. Nothing lower than 30. I wouldn't, anyways. That affects the wastage factor. That affects these numbers. The higher the ML, the lower the mineral requirements. So therefore, the lower the cost to make this thing, because it'll take less minerals to make. Productivity level, as long as it's not 0, it's not devastating. It just means that if it's 0, you're going to be, it's going to take as long as it possibly can. So you want at least 5 or something would be fine. 5 would be fine. And then, yeah, I've done that already. So, yes, then you start making battle cruisers. If you've made lots of battle cruisers, then you can buy the original if you like. You'll want to buy it. Don't buy a ship blueprint original that's got 0 material level and 0 productivity level. The market will sell on the market here. You can get originals that are blank, so they'll be 0, from NPCs. It's a set price. As I showed you with the Osprey, it's a set price. As you see here, 25,875. Notice that this isn't traded because NPCs trade it. If you want a worked blueprint, meaning it's got material level and productivity level on it because it was used in a lab, it was worked on in a lab to upgrade it, you'll have to go through contracts. And you're going to pay a premium for that. You'll pay more than the blueprint. That's obvious because why would someone work on a blueprint that costs them the set NPC price and put all this time into putting it into a lab and then sell it for less? Only that would happen if there was a crap load of them on the market and people trying to dump it and get rid of it. And they didn't care about losing money on it. They were just trying to get their capital back, I guess. Okay, that's battle cruisers. If that is going well for you, the next step would be battleships. Here's a few battleships. Or this one here's a battleship, Apocalypse. Same deal. Check to make sure it's worth making. There's the mineral requirements. You just make them. Okay, where am I here on my list? Okay, so at this point, you'll be a millionaire. Oh, well, at probably Frigates, you'll be a millionaire. And you want to start thinking about a player-owned station. Maybe I'll go out and show you mine. Or maybe I should do a different video on that. I better do a different video, because that's a whole other thing. Player-owned stations they're not stations that you can dock in. What they are towers that you can anchor around moons. Every single star system in this game has planets. Yeah, they should. I don't think there's any exceptions to that. And Most planets have moons. Around any moon, you can put a player-owned station. Although I think that you can't do 1.0. There's security levels of every star system. You can't put a player-owned station, I think, in 1.0 and maybe 0.9 and 0.8. But I think 0.7 and below, you can have a player-owned station around moons. If you want to go to a security level 0.7 or lower, don't go to 0.4. You'll be in low sec. Go to a moon, and you'll see people's player-owned stations, and you can right-click on it and go look at, and you can check out what it looks like. That's the big time, or that's more of the big time. Those things cost about 200 mil and up, and they also need fuel. Now, they recently needed this stuff here, liquid ozone and isotopes and stuff, but now they just need fuel blocks. But that's going to be another video. I shouldn't talk about that too much. But the player-owned stations, the usefulness of them is you can anchor modules on the player-owned station, not the same modules as for a ship. These modules can be factories that have their own slots in them. They also can be labs, so you could have your own labs, which is a good thing because the public labs in dockable stations, like I'm in now, are all pretty much used up. So of course that's what I've done. To get labs to run, to make copies, or to upgrade your Blueprint originals, you'll want to run them in your own lab when you have the money, your own personal labs or corporation labs. Yes, so that's when you get to that point, you'll want to get a player-owned station because a lot of the old blueprints that you don't use anymore, like the drones or like the frigates or the cruisers that you're not using anymore because it's more profitable to make battleships and battle cruisers and all that stuff. Those blueprints you won't want to have sitting around. You'll want them to make you money, and how you do that is you copy them. Just like when you were starting out and you were buying copies from people to get your business going, now you become the copy supplier. And all those old blueprints that you don't use anymore to manufacture because you found better stuff, you've got enough money to buy better stuff. Now you can copy those old ones and sell them to newbies that are starting out. That's how it works. So those old blueprints will be sitting around. So again, you'll want to check the contract market. What are things going for? What ammo blueprints or what drone blueprints are going for? Copy the ones that are making the most money, that sell for the highest money. Same with what you're doing with when you're building stuff through industry.